Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The TSA funding battle continues after the House rejected a Senate bill to end the partial government shutdown. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The shutdown is now in its 42nd day, and with Congress set to go on recess, it could be a while longer before it's resolved. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen shows us how it's impacting travelers at San Diego International Airport.
It's a mess. It's just, it shouldn't be happening.
As the shutdown continues, some passengers are frustrated by the long lines at airports. Here in San Diego, the lines were spilling out the door and onto the curbside drop-off early this morning. Jordan Napier, speaking to our partner at KGTV, was forced to change his flight after being stuck in the 5 a.m. line.
Longest line I ever seen in my life. I thought I was at Six Flags or something.
By the afternoon, the lines were back to normal, and many arriving passengers, like Victor Prashad, say the TSA checkpoints were quicker than they had expected.
We got to the airport early, and by the time we got there and got into through TSA, it was total 30 minutes.
But passengers at other major airports weren't as lucky. Many were waiting in lines at some checkpoints for 4 or more hours as agents called out sick or quit after going unpaid for 40-plus days.
People are having to quit because it's just not sustainable. So the bottom line message is figure out a plan.
Late last night, the Senate unanimously approved a funding plan for most of DHS, including the TSA, but excluding ICE. Today, House Republicans rejected that plan.
We're not going to risk not funding the agencies that keep the American people safe.
Many passengers at San Diego International were critical of how Congress is handling the shutdown, like Marcia Deere.
Sole job is to get government running and keep government running, and they've been doing a really bad job at it.
It shouldn't take that long. You know, they should already have something in plan before they even got to that 41 days, before they got to day one.
As the funding battle continues, President Donald Trump today signed an executive order directing the new DHS chief to pay TSA agents with funds from the One Big Beautiful bill passed last summer. DHS says TSA agents could receive their paychecks as soon as Monday. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Well, this stretch of very hot weather is not over yet, but it will be ending early next week. In the meantime, tonight, patchy low clouds. In fact, some coastal fog will be returning, and that's been an issue here over the past few mornings and at night. This gradually improving for coastal communities in the afternoons. We'll get down to 48 in Ramona. But take a look at this here. Near the end of this loop, you'll begin to notice onshore flow comes in here early next week. We'll begin to see some moisture and cooler air. Details ahead.
Tomorrow, tens of thousands of San Diegans are expected to rally in the third No Kings protest of President Trump's policies. 22 events are set to take place across San Diego County, and that includes a march along the waterfront starting on West Ash Street and North Harbor Drive and ends on Pacific Coast Highway. An estimated 80,000 people showed up for the last No Kings Day in October. Organizers expect tomorrow's demonstration to be the largest yet.
We've had a number of rallies already, anti-ICE rallies along Home Depot, and people see that and they feel comforted knowing that there are actually people that are out there standing up for them. The visibility is important, the motivation is important, that your voice matters, and it's important to keep showing up for other people who can't.
Demonstrations begin as early as 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can stay up to date on the latest on tomorrow's protests on our website, kpbs.org. The Helix Water District has been in the clean water business in East County for decades. Now they're providing clean air. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga says that's through a new electric charging depot.
Time is ticking for public agencies to swap their heavy-duty diesel vehicles for electric models. State law mandates they buy only zero-emissions vehicles starting in 2030. The Helix Water District has been preparing for that transition for years. It installed a few electric vehicle chargers. But officials quickly realized a big challenge.
So we said, well, if I'm going to be required to buy an electric dump truck that's a Class 8 vehicle with a 400 kilowatt, maybe 500 kilowatt hour battery, I don't have any capacity to charge it. All I have is a 3 kilowatt that's going to take me, 2 weeks to charge a dump truck. That doesn't quite work. And
Kevin Miller is the operations director at Helix. He says the challenge was complying with state regulations and still responding to water main breaks and wildfires. Over the past year, the district built a massive charging depot in El Cajon. It has 87 high-speed chargers and some backup generators.
We're transitioning with this project from the capacity to be able to charge something and what would have taken us 30 hours to 20 minutes.
San Diego Gas and Electric is providing the power. The utility is one of the agencies that funded the $11 million project. Paula Forbes is with the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District. Her agency also helped fund the station. She says projects like these reduce vehicle emissions, and that's important because
note that better air quality means better public health for our communities for generations to come.
Neighboring public agencies will be able to use the chargers. Miller says Helix will invoice them so that water customers aren't charged. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
A new nationwide report shows the median rent in San Diego declined this year. The price drop coincided with an increase in active rental listings. KPBS Public Matters reporter Jake Gatta spoke with housing advocates and city leaders about how those two might be connected.
San Diego rents have gone down since last year, and it could be thanks to an increase in supply. A national report from Zumper showed the median rents in the city for a one-bedroom were down 5.6%. For a two-bedroom, rents are down 7.5%. These were among the biggest decreases in the top 20 most expensive cities. Only Miami and New Haven, Connecticut saw bigger decreases in either category. And data from Zumper shows San Diego had about a 15% increase in active listings since last year. Most other cities in the top 20 with fewer new active listings didn't see the same declines. Zach DeFazio-Farrell is with the housing advocacy group YIMBY Democrats of San Diego. He says these numbers don't surprise him.
Generally speaking, the more supply there is, the less the prices will continue to increase, and they may go down, as we're starting to see here. So, yeah, shouldn't be too surprised by this.
City Council President Pro Tem Kent Lee is the chair of the Land Use and Housing Committee. He said the city's efforts to streamline production are a big part of it.
I think if you track the city of San Diego over the last couple of years, we've shown a pretty significant increase in the number of new housing permits each year. I think that's really a collective effort between the mayor's office, a supportive council, and our planning and development services departments that are trying to find really all the tools in which they can help to ensure that new housing is happening in San Diego.
The Zumper report says higher inventory increases competition among property owners. DeFazio-Farrell says that means more choices and power for renters.
What that ultimately does is it makes it more difficult for landlords, right? So the owners of these properties to charge the rental prices that they might have normally charged if there's just enough supply that's available.
Jay Gatta, KPBS News.
Public Matters is a partnership with KPBS, iNews Source, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters.
I'm John Yang. Tonight on the NewsHour, House Republicans reject a Senate deal to fund most of Homeland Security and end the shutdown. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Some encouraging news for people looking to start or expand their family. Costco says it will now offer IVF treatment to its customers. The retailer says its goal is to make the often expensive procedure more affordable and transparent. Maribel Gonzalez is in Los Angeles with more on the partnership.
Just over 13% of women in the U.S. aged 15 to 49 report having difficulty getting pregnant or carrying a pregnancy to term. That is according to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Now, experts say IVF can be a great resource not only for those struggling with fertility, but also same-sex couples and single people hoping to become parents.
IVF stands for in vitro fertilization. That's where the eggs and the sperm are taken outside of the body and put together in an IVF lab to create embryos. That embryo can later be transferred into an individual's uterus.
IVF is a treatment medical experts say can be very effective for family planning, but it's expensive, with an estimated cost of a single cycle ranging from $15,000 to $20,000, according to the American Society for Reproductive Medicine. And in some cases, patients may need more than one round of treatment. This month, Costco announced a new partnership with the health platform Sesame and the fertility network EVRMA North America to offer IVF treatment to its members. The retailer says members can get immediate access to fertility care, including evaluations and referrals. And just like its big box prices, save up to 80% on IVF medication through its pharmacy programs.
I think the concept is very promising, and it's definitely a big step towards improving access to IVF.
However, medical experts stress that fertility treatments aren't a one-size-fits-all, so check with your medical provider first.
While IVF is an incredibly effective tool that we have, it is invasive and it is resource intensive and it's not without risk. So it's very important to make sure that we are delivering the right treatment at the right time to the right patient with proper guidance.
Now, Costco's announcement is the latest push to make IVF treatment more accessible in the U.S. In February, President Donald Trump signed an executive order directing the development of policy recommendations to expand access and affordability of IVF. Reporting in Los Angeles, I'm Maribel Gonzalez.
KPBS was the backdrop today for a response by state leaders to federal cuts to public broadcasting. San Diego Assemblymember Chris Ward says he's requesting $80 million in this year's state budget to help offset the $30 million California public media stations will lose each year because of federal cuts.
Without any action, many of these stations, especially in rural and underserved communities, are at risk of shutting down. So public media is not just programming, it is critical infrastructure, emergency alerts during disasters, educational content for families and children, coverage of local arts, culture, and civic life.
Ward also authored new legislation that's starting next year, proposes giving local news organizations tax credits to hire and keep journalists employed. Ward says the bill prioritizes small community-based newsrooms. According to language in Assembly Bill 2222, news organizations controlled by political action committees or largely funded by political action committees would not qualify for the tax exemption. And we will note the interest of disclosure. KPBS could benefit financially from both of these proposals. Cesar Chavez Day is no more in California. Governor Newsom signed a bill renaming the March 31st holiday. From now on, it will be known as Farm Workers Day. That is in honor of the work Chavez and others in the labor movement did to unionize agricultural workers in the 1960s. Earlier this month, the New York Times investigation revealed multiple claims of sexual abuse against the civil rights leader. And among them is 95-year-old Dolores Huerta, who co-founded the United Farm Workers with Chavez. Faith Ringgold was a multidisciplinary artist whose work first began in 1965 during the Black Arts Movement in Harlem. A new exhibition of her artwork is on display at UC San Diego, where she was a visual arts faculty member. KPBS San Diego News Now host and producer Lawrence K. Jackson says it's being called a full circle moment for the acclaimed artist.
Street address at West 141st. Each Faith Ringgold piece at UC San Diego's Mandeville Art Gallery stands alone in the way that it can tell its own story.
Faith had everything to do with this. I feel like she set this up on her own, and the alignment is so perfect for everything that her work represents and who she was as a woman, a Black woman in America making work.
It's easy to enjoy her art as just that, but Mashonda Tefrere, the curator for Full Circle, the teachings and her legacy, says it means so much more to her.
I think the main thing is that she's from Harlem. I'm from Harlem. There's so many similarities in the visuals and aesthetics of how she explains her childhood and things that she saw growing up. I also love the fact that she fought really hard for women's rights in the art industry, which is like my entire career. My platform, Art Leader, is dedicated to women, and them being more represented, and that was Faith's lifelong goal.
One of the exhibition's goals is to show just how much of a multidisciplinary talent that Faith Ringgold was.
So the artworks in this show span 5 decades of Faith's artistic practice, and it really represents her as a multidisciplinary artist. What I love, one of the things I love the most is her ability to be such a brilliant writer and how she incorporates that into her story quilts. I also love that she made soft sculptures. We also have 2 of those here as a part of the exhibition. Faith was a performance artist as well, so she would make these soft sculptures and wear them during her performances. She was a brilliant painter. You know, she wrote children's books. She created animations, and I mean, the list goes on.
Later in life, Ringgold joined UCSD's Department of Visual Arts, where she taught from 1984 until 2002. Tefrere says Ringgold's former students say her presence was just as impactful as her art.
From what I've heard from her students, who I'm really good friends with and have spent some time with just getting to know Faith as a teacher, they loved every moment of her. You know, they said she was vibrant, she wore red lipstick, she wore beautiful outfits and big statement jewelry. She was just really a glorious kind of energy on campus.
Faith Ringgold was most known for her story quilts. Tefrere says those quilts were birthed out of creativity and ingenuity.
She knew that she wanted to travel with her art and tell her story and share her art with the world. And she knew that, you know, art is expensive to transport. So she speaks about creating quilts because she could just fold them up, put them in her suitcase or her bag, and take them to different places and like present them.
Ringgold was also an accomplished writer. Her book Tar Beach is based on her story quilts and was named one of the 10 best illustrated children's titles by the New York Times. Tefrere, however, feels that Ringgold's true legacy lies in being fearless.
She really embodies that kind of like universal artist energy. She spent a lot of time in Paris, she visited Africa, and she brings all those elements into her work. And she did what she wanted to do in a time where many people were afraid, and it was so hard back then for women, especially Black women, to be in museums and be represented by galleries. And here's this woman just doing whatever she wanted to do and saying, I'm gonna get this stuff seen, and she did.
The Full Circle exhibition is open now until May 1st at UCSD's Mandeville Art Gallery. Lawrence K. Jackson, KPBS News.
Parts of the western U.S. could be in for an early and severe fire season, and that's due to record heat. The snowpack from California, Sierra Nevadas to the Colorado Rockies is largely gone. A new environmental research letter study shows early melting of snow correlates with more burned acres. And one expert says the region is in uncharted territory with wildfire season. Today's high in San Diego was 75 degrees, but it is expected to get warmer this weekend.
Well, we are still locked into the very warm, and for some of you in inland areas, hot weather pattern through the weekend. In fact, the heat will slightly escalate for another day or two, but we're going to get some good relief next week. In the meantime, coastal fog and low clouds will be with us each morning along the coastline and just offshore. Very warm still this weekend, but cooler air will return next week, and we even see some spotty showers. They don't look widespread for us. They'll be much more widespread to the north, where we get rain and even some mountain snow returning to the Sierra late in the season. A very significant bit of help after a hot time. 58 degrees tonight. Low clouds lurking near San Diego and offshore for all coastal communities. It'll be unseasonably warm, and what a shift in the wind in the plains there after a big cool down. They're warming back up. But for us, we're still locked in. Unseasonably warm. 92 in Ramona, 91 in El Cajon, Escondido, 87. We'll be around 76 in San Diego, and far to the east, Borrego Springs, still 95. Still warm. Not as hot as it was, but still pretty toasty. On Sunday, this is the final day of significant heat for coastal areas and for most areas around San Diego. at least a little bit inland where we have been dealing with that big-time heat. You'll notice a little bit more in the way of spotty thunderstorms returning to parts of Arizona as moisture increases. Still hot in the interior deserts, but look at this. Relief is on the way. A cold front will be moving on in. Sunday and Monday, we're going to begin to see some changes in a few different ways. In the interior deserts, maybe a few extra clouds. The thunderstorms will be staying farther east into parts of Arizona and New Mexico. But some dry thunderstorms there with spotty thunderstorms. May not produce a whole lot of rain, but there could be a lightning threat, and that could lead to wildfire danger there. But locally, we will be watching for a big shift in the wind. Gradually, again, we're still hot this weekend, but gradually we'll begin to see a little bit more of an onshore component to the wind. Those little wind streamlines hinting at more flow, at least at times coming inland. And look at this, some moisture returning to the northwest, rain and some mountain snow into the Sierra. We may see a few spotty showers around here, but they won't be widespread. You will notice a big change, though. So coastal areas, upper 70s Saturday, still 77 Sunday. Down to 70 on Tuesday with clouds returning, and they'll be sticking around for a big chunk of the day. Inland areas, here we're going to go from 87 Saturday, 86 Sunday. So still steamy this weekend, all the way back down to 73 and a thicker cloud cover on Tuesday with that moisture. Into the mountains we go. Here we're in the upper 60s, hedging way down to near 50 come Tuesday, much cooler then. And into the deserts, still in the mid-90s as we begin the forecast, but we're going to get all the way back down to the low 80s, much cooler there Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
An artist, tattooer, and skateboarder from Pacific Beach has accomplished an extraordinary goal: skateboarding across the United States from coast to coast. KPBS video journalist Charlotte Radulovich met him at his home to dive further into this unique experience.
I went through 2 skateboard decks, which I actually used as my paint palette, and I went through 2 sets of wheels, 4 sets of bearings, and 10 pairs of shoes.
Hunter Nallmeyer went on an epic 105-day journey. He started skateboarding in New Jersey on September 8th, 2025, and rolled into San Diego on December 21st. It was more than a physical challenge. It was a mission to raise funds for children's art supplies. His primary goal was clear: to distribute art supplies to kids who lack access.
From a young age, I feel like I've always been blessed to have the opportunity to create, and not all kids have that opportunity.
The trip became a way to combine his passions: travel, skateboarding, and painting.
When I was planning my trip, I wanted to do something that had to do with the arts. As a lifelong artist, I always felt blessed that I had the opportunity as a child to have art supplies. Not all kids have that. And to create something that I could do skateboarding, I could travel, I could do painting, and raise money for kids' art supplies, it just all made sense.
Hunter named his project Pushing the Art, and documented his trip with daily vlogs, cameras, and drones.
This is day 47, skating coast to coast, making a new painting daily, raising money for kids' art supplies. Let's do this, baby!
In total, right here, we have 105 paintings, and I did a new painting every single day, rain or shine, whether I was stranded in the desert, running out of food and water, or if there was a storm, or I even had one day in Oklahoma that they had a tornado warning. If I absolutely had to, I would paint inside of a hotel off of a photograph, but each day of the trip, I made a new painting.
Hunter says he often found skateboarding coast to coast to be more of a mental battle than a physical one.
If I start a day and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a chill one, I only got 25 miles to push, and all of a sudden the wind is just blasting right at me, the road is just made out of garbage, cars are flying, there's no shoulder to the road, everything is against me. I know that I have the power to have whatever kind of day that I want.
The final painting is of Crystal Pier in his hometown of Pacific Beach. Hunter says It holds a unique connection to the journey.
And there's actually a lot of sand that's stuck in this painting because I painted it on the sand. I used water from the ocean to mix my paint to give it a little bit of a natural touch as well.
The Pushing the Art effort has already raised nearly $15,000, but Hunter says his mission is far from over. He plans to put all 105 paintings into an exhibit and sell each one to raise more money for broader art supply distribution.
Although painting across America is complete and we have this series of paintings, it's only the beginning.
The Pushing the Art fundraiser remains accessible on GoFundMe.
Together we can paint a brighter future.
Charlotte Radulovic, KPBS News.
Get the latest from KPBS delivered right into your inbox. We have a variety of newsletters that you can pick from, and that includes daily headlines, KPBS Arts, we have streaming picks, and of course our North County focus. Just go to kpbs.org, and from there you can look for the newsletter section. You'll find that at the top of your screen, and then you can just sign up with your email address. And then also be sure to join us tonight for KPBS News This Week, and that is where we revisit the most impactful and intriguing original reporting that we've had this week. This Week airs every Friday at 8:30 right here on KPBS. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Enjoy your evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.